go ahead and log into your Google Drive and then go to New, Google Sheets, and we will select a blank spreadsheet. Once you are here, you're going to go ahead and enter your data into columns A and B. Let's start with the title. T. This is the year. And the next one is E, and this is in thousands of people. Okay, and let's enter. So 2005, 2006. A fast way to enter your data is make sure to type 2 to 3 values here and then highlight. Notice that the pattern is by increasing by 1. If you go to this bottom right square, you see a big plus show up. Click and drag. And you will notice it will fill in the data. Looks like I went 1 too far. Okay, go ahead and type in the next column of data. Enter. Once we have our data entered, we're going to go ahead and create a chart. So I'm going to highlight the table and I'm going to go up to Insert. Click. And you're going to scroll down here to Chart. All right, so you have all these menus pop up. It automatically chooses a line graph, and I'm going to go over here to the Customize. Okay, Chart Style, and we're going to go through the different menus. Okay, those look fine. Chart and Axis. So we're going to go ahead and go into the Setup menu, and we want a scatter plot. So Chart Type. We're going to scroll down until we see a scatter plot. There it is. Click it. And as you update this, the graph on your screen will change accordingly. So we want a scatter plot. And I'm going to just scroll down my menu. Okay. Use row 1 as headers. If you notice, when this is selected, you see the labels automatically are added to your graph. Notice that 2005 would correspond to this first data point. It's important that this x-axis here is labeled with the actual data values that you selected. And then notice the y-axis. The numbers are between 75 and 125, which matches the data that you've typed in here. Okay, let's go to Customize. Here's where you can edit some of the text. There's the title of our chart. And so let's change it to numbers of employees. Okay, and this is consumer lending industry. Oh, there you go. Okay. Theme, you can change the font, the size. I'll go ahead and change it to 14. Oh, maybe bigger. Okay. All right. Now you can click the series menu. And this is a blue dot. You can change it to any color that you want. Okay. Axis. Let's see what this does. Okay, so it moved the labels. Let's leave it on the left side. You can change this. Okay, it made the dots bigger. Looks good. You can change the shape. I'm going to leave mine at a circle. Okay, error bars. Nope. Okay, data labels. So if you'd like to see the values, you can click that. I'm going to go ahead and leave them off. And I'm going to hit trend line. here is your regression. Okay, and linear, you see that the line automatically popped up on the graph. If you click this, you'll be able to choose your regression line. Now that looks like a polynomial to me, so I'm going to select polynomial, and automatically the degree changes to 2. So I'm going to change this degree. It looks cubic. I'm going to choose cubic. One of the nice things with the online graphing in Excel is it's very easy to change the degree and to automatically see what it looks like. Notice that not a lot changes. Here's where you're going to have some decisions to make. Now I'm going to keep scrolling down, and I see the menu here, label, use equation, and you see the equation pop up on the screen right here. Then I'm going to say show r squared. Then I get my r squared value. Now you have a choice on whether you show this to the right or the left. I'm going to leave it at the top because it's easy to see this line straight across. Now notice that that's negative 3.58 times 10 to the 9th power. Those are very large values up here. Now, as I'm looking at this equation, pay attention to your r squared as you change the degree. I'm going to go back to 2. Okay, 0.75, not very good. 3, 0.97, much better. Notice that the actual trend line does mimic the data. 4, okay, let's scroll out a little bit. Okay, 0.98. Not too bad, but that's not very much larger than 0.97. I would choose the smallest degree possible that gives you a reasonable r squared. Only going up by 0.01 is not worth the extra complexity in your equation. So I'm going to go back down to degree 3. And I'm going to leave the equation here. Okay, so I'm going to keep scrolling down my Customize menu, and I'm going to click on Legend. Okay, let's see what our choices are. Position. It says Auto. You have all of these different choices. I can click Bottom. Left. Doesn't look good. Right. Hard to read this equation, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at the top. You can change fonts and sizes here. Let's keep scrolling down to your menu, and let's click horizontal axis. Okay, treat labels as text. I was just looking to see what's different. It's fine, we'll leave it like this. Okay, minimum value. What is the minimum X value that we would like to see? Okay, it says 2005. 2005. Maximum value says 2014. Now, you could change this, and then it gives you extra room on your graph. I'm going to leave it at 2014. Everything that you change automatically updates as you type it. Okay. Allow bounds to hide data. So if I wanted to only see 2010, it would cut off the first set of data points here. If I deselect this, right, see how it's only labeling 210 to 214, but it's showing the rest of the data points. I'm going to leave it at 2005. Okay, let's keep scaling down. Labels. Okay, vertical axis. Okay, it says to view 80 through 140. So I'm going to cut off these empty squares right here so I have a good view of my graph. 80. Notice how the curves become much more apparent as you zoom in your window here. Maximum 140. Okay, 140 may be a little bit too high. You might be able to go back to 130. so that you get a very good graph with not a lot of extra space. Let's keep scrolling down. Okay, grid lines. Grid lines is how often you see these axes and what is marked here. It says auto. Let's see what 1 does. Oh, that's only 1 grid mark. Okay, so it's marking 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. 6 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to leave it on auto. That seemed like a very reasonable thing to do. Minor grid count. So it can add tick marks between the existing lines. Seems unnecessary, so let's go back. That's much easier to read. Okay. Okay, so I'm going back to check my worksheet. We've entered the data. We have formatted the chart. We have the axes from 2005 to 2014 and 80 to 140. We have the chart title and the axes are titled. And a cubic trend line, size 14. So I have my cubic trend line. I'm just clicking on it and automatically the formatting window shows up here. So let's see if we can't change the size to 14. Much easier to read here. All right, let's go down to number 4. Using the equation to make a prediction. Okay, it says in column 3. All right, so let's make a column 3. And it says label it. I'm just going to resize this here. Okay, predicted E values. All right, and it says use the regression equation. Okay, that's this one right here. Now, I don't know if we can copy and paste it, so we might have to retype. Okay, so I'm going to click up here in this bar, equals, and it's going to fill in right here. You have to start with an equals, and we're going to type the equation. Okay, negative 3.58. Now, we can't type E, we're going to type times. Okay, that's shift 8 times 10 to the power of 9. So that's the caret key. That's shift 6, 9. Okay, notice it's giving you the value up here. It's showing you all of the extra zeros. Okay, times shift 8. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to type this right here, A2. A2. And you notice it highlights the cell right here. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm mistyping. All right, we need a plus 5.34 times 10 power 6. Now we have an x. Instead of the x coordinate right here, we're going to type the location of x, which is A2, times A2. Now it's highlighting. Everywhere we see an x, we're going to type A2 instead. Okay, so notice my cursor is still up here. Oop, that's actually plus a negative, so I'm going to say minus 2658 times x squared. So that's A2 caret squared. All right. Plus 0.441 times A2, capital or lowercase, doesn't matter, cubed, caret cubed. Press enter. Be careful with where you are clicking because it automatically links the cells. One thing you might notice is that this value is not close to this one, even though the graph looks very accurate. One problem is that you lose a lot of accuracy when you have this scientific notation. Okay? Excel is plotting the graph correctly, but it's not recording the values accurately, which is why our expected values are so far off. Now, I'm going to bottom right corner, I'm going to click and drag to fill the formula. Now watch the A2 value. It's going to change based on the row that I'm filling it to. Okay, all the way down. Now I'm going to click here. Notice I'm going to click in this menu bar. It highlights the input value that it's using. So I'm going to press enter. I'm going to click. Look, it's switched to A4. One way to check your data entry is if you can match up the formula and the input value it's supposed to be using. Oop, see, I clicked somewhere and E1 popped up, so I need to make sure I go back and delete that. And then when you're ready, press enter. Okay. I'm going to move my chart so I can see it. None of these values look accurate. Part of what we're going to discover is that relabeling inputs is a very useful way to come up with a better graph and an easier equation that better predicts our values. All right, so I'm going to move this chart down below. Okay. And I'm going to copy over, highlight, Control C, and then come over here to cells F, okay, paste. And I'm going to relabel my inputs to smaller values. Notice that these are values 0 to 20, and these are still 80 to 120. Much closer together, and I'm going to try again to see what the differences are. I'm going to highlight, insert, chart. I'm going to go through my menu again. Okay, setup. We have a scatter plot. Notice it popped up. Notice that the labels are here and the data values are accurate. I'm just going to go straight down the whole menu, make sure there's nothing I need to change. Okay, customize. Chart style, fine. Axes, notice we've got the titles here, so I'm going to change this again. Number of employees in consumer lending industry. Oh, consumer. Okay, keep going. All right, series. Blue is okay. Trend line. Okay, so before I start changing my trend line, I'm gonna view the equation and the R squared. Okay, now it's not linear. Now I chose cubic, so I'm gonna choose cubic again. So polynomial, cubic. Notice very quickly you can see the numbers are much smaller, but the R squared is the same. Okay, my hope is that this equation will give us better predicted E values. Okay, let's keep scrolling. Legend. Okay, let's change my font size to 14, make it a little bigger. See that pop up here. Okay, horizontal axes. Looks okay. Let's see. Oh, min value, max value. It looks fine. It's including all the values that I need. Okay, oh, so let's go min 5 to 14. There we go, one extra value here. We can see at the end of this that it's going up. Okay. vertical axes. I see no reason to change the scale. It looks reasonable. Okay. Maybe let's cut off these 3 blank squares. Let's look at 75 to 125. Okay. Looks good. All right. Grid lines. You can add grid lines if you would like to. I'm just going to leave mine on auto, and let's add 1 marker in between. Okay. Now let's do the predicted E values. Okay. Zoom this out. Okay. Predicted E values. And we're going to see if I get anything better than what's over here. So I'm going to click this menu bar because I have a lot to type. You're going to start with equals 114, negative 114 plus 92.6, okay, times, in this case it's going to be F2. F2, notice it highlights the corresponding input cell. Oh, did it again. Sorry, guys. Plus, no, I got it. Times F2. Okay, minus 11.6 times F2 power 2. So that's the caret key. Plus 0.441 times F2 power cubed. Enter. Wow, that predicted value is much better. So I'm going to fill the cells. Need to move my graph down. Okay, so let's resize this so they both fit on the page. Okay, so now I can see them. Let's keep going. These values are much closer to the estimated values. Now I'm going to look at my chart, okay? And it looks like it should be above, 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 matching. Does that match? Above, above, above. So the third data point looks like it's supposed to be above, but it's really below. But it's much, much closer than the values over here. Okay? Let's look to see what else is pretty close. And then it looks like the second half of the data points should be above, and then right here towards the end it should be going below. So it's not perfect, right? This point is clearly below, so that's there. And this point is below, okay? Not perfect, but it's much better. One thing you should be aware of is when you get the predicted values, you want to make sure that it's being represented pretty accurately within your data. The last thing we can do is find values that were not in our table. So I'm going to go ahead, seeing as how the second equation is much better, right? The values are much closer. I'm going to scooch this down, and I'm going to type in some extra input values. Now, this is obviously blank because there's no data values here, but right here, I'd like a predicted value. So, click on where the formula exists. See this? There's your formula. Notice it's referencing the correct input cell. I'm going to click right here in the bottom right corner so the cross shows up. I'm going to click and drag. That's how you can quickly fill the cells with the corresponding formula. There you go. Now I'm going to check the cells just to be sure. I want this cell H11 to correspond to F11. And I check my formula bar. Yes, it's corresponding. It should correspond for each row. Good. All right. These values can be used as predictions. They will be much better than using this equation. This one was so far off in the red that I don't even want to type it in. Okay, in order to continue, go ahead down to this bottom left corner, the plus button. You're going to add a sheet and complete the homework questions here. You are going to do this twice, once using the 2006 as the data, and then once using the 6 as the data. Should look like year, sales, model. Okay, enter your data here, data here, and then put your graph down here, and then over here on the right side, year, sales, model. Okay, you're going to do this 2007. Okay, and then on the second set, you're going to relabel your inputs and compare to see what it looks like. In order to give me a verbal response, go ahead and insert a text box. Okay, in order to insert a text box, you go up here to insert, and let's see. Nope, not comment. Okay, in order to insert a text box, we're going to go to insert, drawing, and you can type here. So here's your text box, and you may answer questions here. When you click save and close, it'll pop up, and then you can move it around and format it so that you can see everything on the screen. You can even scroll down and put it below your graphs.